The HOA president pepper-sprayed my 3-week-old baby in the face because my stroller blocked the sidewalk. My daughter stopped breathing. Turned blue. Nearly died. Karen laughed and walked away. She didn't know I'm a session court judge. Now I'll use every power I have to destroy her. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching, also liquor and subscribe for more stories. My daughter's screams will haunt me forever. Not normal baby cries. Not hunger or discomfort or tiredness. These were screams of pure agony, high-pitched, desperate, terrified shrieks from a 3-week-old infant who couldn't understand why her face was burning, why she couldn't breathe, why her mother couldn't make the pain stop. I was standing on the sidewalk outside our townhouse in Maple Ridge Estates, my wife Emma beside me, both of us frozen in absolute horror as our newborn daughter Lily thrashed in her stroller, her tiny face bright red, her eyes squeezed shut, her mouth open in endless screaming. 30 seconds earlier, everything had been fine. Perfect even. It was a beautiful Saturday morning. Emma and I had decided to take Lily for her first real walk around the neighborhood. 3 weeks old, barely bigger than a loaf of bread, our miracle baby after years of trying. Emma had stopped to adjust Lily's blanket. I'd stepped aside to take a photo. The stroller was on the sidewalk, yes, but we were right there. We weren't blocking anyone. We were just parents enjoying a moment with our newborn. That's when she appeared. Margaret Sullivan, HOA president of Maple Ridge Estates. 62 years old. Retired school principal. Absolute tyrant who ran our neighborhood like a military dictatorship. "Move that stroller," she'd barked, marching toward us with her usual scowl. "You're blocking the sidewalk. That's a violation of HOA Rule 47, Section 3. "We're just taking a picture," Emma had said gently, protectively moving toward Lily. "We'll move in just a second. The rules say no obstructions on sidewalks. You people think you're special? Think having a baby means rules don't apply?" I'd stepped forward, keeping my voice calm. "Mrs. Sullivan, we're literally right here. We're not blocking anyone. Please just give us a moment." "I don't give moments. I give citations." She'd pulled out her phone, started taking pictures of our stroller like it was evidence of a crime. "That's a $500 fine for sidewalk obstruction." $500? Emma's voice had risen in disbelief. "For stopping on a sidewalk for 30 seconds with our newborn? Should have thought about that before you broke the rules." Margaret had shouted, her face getting red, that vein in her forehead pulsing the way it did when she was on a power trip. Then Lily had started to fuss. Just normal baby sounds. She was probably hungry or needed her diaper changed. But Margaret had turned toward the stroller with a look of pure disgust. "And that noise? That's disturbing the peace. That's another violation." "She's a baby," I'd said, trying to keep my anger in check. "Babies cry. That's not a violation of anything. In Maple Ridge Estates, it is. I will not have screaming children disrupting our peaceful community." Emma had bent down to comfort Lily, to pick her up from the stroller. "We're leaving. We're going home right now." That's when Margaret did it. She reached into her purse, pulled out a canister of pepper spray, and without warning, without hesitation, sprayed it directly into my 3-week-old daughter's face. Time stopped. Lily's little body had jerked. Her mouth had opened in a silent gasp. Then came the screaming. Oh God, the screaming. Emma had snatched Lily from the stroller, and that's when we saw it. Our daughter's face was bright red, already swelling. Her eyes were clamped shut. She was gasping, struggling to breathe, her little chest heaving. "What did you do?" Emma had shrieked, cradling Lily, trying to help her, not knowing what to do. "You sprayed my baby." Margaret had actually smiled. "Maybe that'll teach you to follow the rules. Control your child and move your stroller." Then she turned and walked away. Casually. Like she hadn't just pepper sprayed an infant. I'd stood there for maybe 2 seconds, my mind unable to process what had just happened. Then I'd snapped into action. "Call 911. I'd shouted to Emma, who was sobbing, trying to wipe Lily's face, making it worse. "Don't touch her face. Just hold her. Ambulance. Now." Lily's screams were getting weaker. Her breathing was wrong, raspy, labored, desperate. Her lips were starting to turn blue. Blue. My daughter was turning blue. "She can't breathe." Emma was hysterical. "Michael, she can't breathe." I grabbed my phone, called 911, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold it. My newborn baby was just pepper sprayed in the face. She's 3 weeks old. She's not breathing right. We need an ambulance now. Maple Ridge Estates, 247 Willow Lane. The operator was asking questions, but all I could hear was Lily's weakening cries. All I could see was her blue lips, All I could feel was absolute terror that my daughter was dying in my wife's arms. Neighbors were running out. Someone brought water. Wrong thing to do with pepper spray, but we didn't know we were desperate. Emma was screaming for help. Lily was barely making sounds now, just gasping, her little chest heaving, her body going limp. Stay with us, Lily. Baby, please. Emma was begging, tears streaming down her face. Please don't leave us. The ambulance arrived. 6 minutes that felt like 6 hours. Paramedics took one look at Lily and their faces went pale. Pepper spray? On an infant. They took her from Emma's arms, started working on her immediately. Oxygen mask, too big for her tiny face, but they made it work. Checking her airways, her vitals. Respiratory distress. Severe chemical burns to the eyes and face. 3 weeks old, did you say? Yes. Please help her. Please. They loaded Lily into the ambulance. Emma climbed in with her. I followed in our car, my vision blurred with tears, my hands gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles were white. My daughter. My 3-week-old daughter had been pepper sprayed by our HOA president. And I was going to make Margaret Sullivan pay for every second of my daughter's suffering. My name is Michael Rhodes. And I'm a session court judge. Margaret Sullivan had no idea who she just attacked. Lily was in the pediatric ICU. Severe chemical burns to her eyes, face, and respiratory system. The pepper spray had caused her airways to swell. That's why she turned blue, why she couldn't breathe. She's stable now, Dr. Patel told us, his face grave. But the next 24 hours are critical. Pepper spray can cause serious damage to an infant's developing respiratory system. Her eyes, we won't know the extent of the damage until the swelling goes down. Will she be blind? Emma asked, her voice breaking. Did that woman blind our baby? We don't know yet. I'm sorry. We're doing everything we can. Emma collapsed against me, sobbing. She's 3 weeks old, Michael. 3 weeks. What kind of monster does this to a baby? I held my wife, but inside I was pure ice. Pure calculation. Pure rage channeled into focus. The kind of monster who's about to learn that actions have consequences, I said quietly. A police officer arrived, Detective Sarah Chin. I knew her from court. She testified in several cases I'd presided over. Judge Rhodes, she said, her face serious. I heard what happened. I need to take your statement. I told her everything. Every detail. Every word Margaret had said. Every second of horror. And then she walked away. I finished. Smiled and walked away like she hadn't just attacked an infant. Detective Chen's jaw was tight. We've arrested Margaret Sullivan. She's in custody now. But Judge Rhodes, I have to tell you, her lawyer is already screaming about HOA authority, about citizens' defense, about your baby disrupting the peace. My 3-week-old baby disrupted the peace? My voice was dangerously quiet. By existing? I know. It's insane. But her lawyer is good. Richard Morrison. He's going to fight this hard. I knew Richard Morrison. Slick defense attorney who got guilty people off on technicalities. He'd appeared in my courtroom before, trying to twist the law to suit his clients. But he'd never faced me when I was personally invested. Charge her with aggravated assault on a minor, child endangerment, and assault with a chemical weapon, I said. I want every charge that applies. And Detective Chin? Get the security footage from the neighborhood cameras. I want video evidence of exactly what she did. Already on it, Judge. Over the next 48 hours, while Lily fought for her life in the ICU, I built the case that would destroy Margaret Sullivan. Detective Chin was thorough. She found everything. The security footage from a neighbor's Ring camera showed it all. Margaret approaching us. The argument. Emma bending toward the stroller. Margaret pulling out the pepper spray. Aiming it deliberately at the stroller. Spraying directly at Lily's face from 2 feet away. The video even caught audio. Margaret's voice saying, "Maybe that'll teach you to follow the rules." Detective Chin also found Margaret's phone records. Text messages to her daughter that morning, "Dealing with those Rhodes people today. Baby or not, nobody blocks MY sidewalks. Time to show them who's in charge." Premeditation. She'd planned to confront us. Brought the pepper spray specifically for that purpose. More evidence emerged. Neighbors came forward with stories of Margaret's reign of terror. She threatened to spray my dog because it barked, one neighbor testified. Said she'd do it and claim self-defense. She told my teenage son she'd pepper spray him if he skateboarded on the sidewalk again, another said. We thought she was bluffing. She's been carrying that pepper spray for months, a third neighbor revealed. Said she needed it to enforce HOA rules when people don't listen. But the most damning evidence came from Margaret herself. When Detective Chin arrested her, Margaret had actually bragged about it. "That baby was a nuisance," Margaret had said, caught on the body camera. "Crying on the sidewalk, stroller blocking traffic. I did what was necessary to maintain order. I have full authority as HOA president to enforce rules by any means necessary." "You pepper-sprayed a 3-week-old infant," Detective Chin had said, her voice tight with controlled anger. "I pepper-sprayed a noise violation and sidewalk obstruction," Margaret had corrected. "The fact that it was a baby is irrelevant. Rules are rules." That statement, that absolute lack of remorse or recognition of what she'd done, was going to bury her. On day 3, Lily's swelling started to go down. Dr. Patel did a thorough eye examination. "There's damage," he said gently. "Scarring on the corneas. She'll need follow-up care, possibly surgery when she's older. But Judge Rhodes, Mrs. Rhodes, I don't think she'll be blind." Emma broke down in relief. "She'll see? She'll really see?" "Yes. Her vision may not be perfect. She'll likely need glasses. But she'll see." I held my wife and daughter, Lily finally out of immediate danger, sleeping peacefully in Emma's arms, her face still red and swollen but healing. "She's going to be okay," Emma whispered. "Our baby is going to be okay." But the trauma wasn't over. Lily had developed a fear response. Any sudden movement, any loud noise, and she'd start screaming in terror. The doctors said it was PTSD. Yes, even a 3-week-old could develop it. The pepper spray caused intense pain and fear at a critical developmental stage, the pediatric psychologist explained. Her brain associated that trauma with faces, with voices, with being outside. It's going to take time and therapy to help her feel safe again. Emma blamed herself. "I should have moved the stroller faster. Should have picked her up sooner. Should have protected her." "This is not your fault," I said firmly. "This is Margaret Sullivan's fault. And she's going to pay for every single tear, every single nightmare, every single moment of fear she's caused our daughter." I sat in the courtroom, not on the bench this time but in the gallery. Another judge, Judge Patricia Williams, was presiding because of my personal involvement. Margaret walked in with Richard Morrison, looking smug and self-righteous. Like she was the victim here. The charges were read: aggravated assault on a minor, child endangerment, assault with a chemical weapon, and violating civil rights. "How does your client plead?" Judge Williams asked. "Not guilty, Your Honor," Richard Morrison stood. "And we move for immediate dismissal. My client was acting within her authority as HOA president to enforce community rules." "The minor in question." "The minor is a 3-week-old infant." I stood up, unable to stay silent. "Who was pepper-sprayed in the face for the crime of existing on a sidewalk." "Judge Rhodes, please sit down," Judge Williams said, but not unkindly. "I know this is personal, but you can't speak in these proceedings." "Your Honor, may I address the court?" The prosecutor, Assistant DA Jennifer Martinez, stood. "The evidence is overwhelming. We have video of the defendant deliberately pepper-spraying an infant. We have text messages showing premeditation. We have the defendant's own statement admitting to the act and showing zero remorse. This was not HOA enforcement. This was assault on a helpless baby." Richard Morrison scoffed. The defendant was maintaining order in her community. She had no way of knowing the stroller contained an infant. The baby was visible and crying. Jennifer shot back. "The video clearly shows." "Enough," Judge Williams said. "I've reviewed the evidence. Mr. Morrison, your motion to dismiss is denied. This case will proceed to trial. As for bail." "Your Honor, my client has no prior record, strong community ties." "Your client pepper-sprayed a newborn baby and showed no remorse." Judge Williams cut him off. "Bail is set at $500,000. The defendant is to have no contact with the Rhodes family or any residents of Maple Ridge Estates. If she posts bail, she'll be under house arrest with ankle monitor." Margaret's face went red. "This is outrageous. I was doing my job. That family was breaking rules." "Mrs. Sullivan, one more outburst and I'll hold you in contempt," Judge Williams warned. "You're dismissed." As they led Margaret away, she looked directly at me and smiled. That same cold smile from the sidewalk. "You can't touch me," she mouthed. "I have rights." I smiled back. And my smile was colder than hers. She had no idea what was coming. Over the next month, while Lily slowly healed, the prosecution built an ironclad case. Jennifer Martinez was brilliant. She compiled everything: the video evidence, the medical records showing Lily's injuries, the expert testimony about the dangers of pepper spray on infants, the witnesses detailing Margaret's pattern of abuse. We also discovered Margaret's history. She'd been forced to resign from her school principal position 15 years ago after excessive discipline complaints. Translation: she'd physically grabbed students, locked them in closets, psychologically abused them. The school district had paid settlements to 3 families and forced Margaret to resign quietly. No charges filed. No record. But those families were willing to testify now. She grabbed my son by the throat for running in the hallway, one mother testified in a pretrial deposition. He was 7 years old. She said children needed to learn obedience through fear. She locked my daughter in a supply closet for talking during assembly, another parent said. For 2 hours. My daughter was terrified of small spaces for years. Margaret Sullivan had been abusing children for decades. The HOA presidency had just given her a new arena for her cruelty. But the prosecution's strongest weapon was the video itself. Played in slow motion, it was devastating. Margaret approaching. The argument. Emma bending toward Lily. Any reasonable person could see she was attending to her baby. Margaret pulling out the pepper spray. Deliberately aiming. The spray hitting Lily's face. Lily's body jerking. The screaming starting. And Margaret's face, cold, satisfied, vindictive. No jury will look at this and see anything but a woman who deliberately attacked a helpless infant, Jennifer said. We're going to win this, Judge Rhodes. The trial began 6 weeks after the attack. Lily was healing, physically at least. Her face had returned to normal. Her eyes were recovering. But she still screamed at loud noises. Still flinched at sudden movements. Still woke up crying from nightmares. The courtroom was packed. Media everywhere. Child advocacy groups. Outraged citizens. Margaret sat at the defense table, still looking smug, still acting like she was the victim of persecution. Jennifer's opening statement was powerful. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, on the morning of May 14th, Margaret Sullivan made a choice. She saw a young couple with their newborn baby. She saw that their stroller was on the sidewalk, not blocking anyone, not causing any harm, just there while the parents took a moment to adjust their daughter's blanket. And Margaret Sullivan decided that her HOA rules were more important than a baby's safety. More important than human decency. More important than basic humanity. Jennifer pulled up the first slide, Lily before the attack. A tiny, perfect newborn, sleeping peacefully. This is Lily Rhodes. 3 weeks old. Healthy. Happy. Safe. Next slide, Lily in the hospital, her face red and swollen, oxygen mask over her tiny features, tubes everywhere. This is Lily Rhodes 2 hours later. Chemical burns to her eyes and face. Respiratory distress so severe she turned blue. Fighting for her life. Because Margaret Sullivan pepper sprayed her in the face. Gasps echoed through the courtroom. One juror had tears in her eyes. The defense will try to claim this was about HOA enforcement. About maintaining order. But you'll see the video. You'll hear Margaret's own words. You'll learn about her history of abusing children. And you'll understand that this was about power, control, and a woman who values rules more than human life. Richard Morrison's defense was what I expected. Try to make Margaret the victim. My client is a dedicated community servant, he argued. For 5 years she's maintained order in Maple Ridge Estates. She's enforced rules that keep property values high and quality of life excellent. On the morning of May 14th, she encountered a violation, a stroller blocking the sidewalk. She attempted to enforce the rules. Things escalated. In fear for her safety, she used pepper spray to defend herself. Defend herself from a 3-week-old baby? Jennifer interrupted, standing. Objection, Your Honor. Counsel is misrepresenting the facts. Sustained, Judge Williams said. Mr. Morrison, stick to the facts. But Richard pressed on. My client didn't know an infant was in the stroller. She thought she was spraying toward the parents. The video clearly shows otherwise, Jennifer said. The trial lasted 2 weeks. 2 weeks of devastating evidence against Margaret Sullivan. The video played for the jury. Multiple times. From every angle available. There was no way to spin it, no way to claim ignorance or self-defense. Margaret had deliberately pepper sprayed a baby. Emma testified, and it broke my heart to watch her relive it. I was bending down to adjust Lily's blanket. She was fussing a little, normal baby sounds. Margaret started yelling at us about the stroller being on the sidewalk. I tried to explain we'd move in just a second, but she wouldn't listen. Emma's voice broke. Then I saw her pull out the pepper spray. I don't know what I thought. Maybe that she was going to spray us, the adults. I moved to pick up Lily to protect her. But Margaret aimed right at the stroller. Right at my baby's face. From 2 feet away. And sprayed. What happened next? Jennifer asked gently. Lily started screaming. Not crying, screaming. Like she was being tortured. Her face turned red immediately. Started swelling. She couldn't breathe right. Her lips turned blue. Emma was sobbing now. I thought my daughter was dying. I thought I was watching my baby die because some woman cared more about a sidewalk than a human life. I had to step out of the courtroom. Couldn't watch Emma fall apart without holding her, and I couldn't disrupt the trial. Dr. Patel testified about Lily's injuries. The chemical burns. The respiratory distress. The potential long-term vision problems. Pepper spray on an infant is extremely dangerous, he explained. Their airways are so small that even minor swelling can cut off oxygen completely. Lily Rhodes came very close to dying that morning. The jury looked horrified. The pediatric psychologist testified about Lily's PTSD. At 3 weeks old, her brain was in a critical development phase. The trauma has created lasting fear responses. She may struggle with anxiety and trust issues for years. The former parents whose children Margaret had abused testified. Story after story of cruelty, of a woman who enjoyed having power over children, who used fear and pain to control them. And then we played Margaret's police interview. You pepper sprayed a 3-week-old baby, Detective Chen's voice said on the recording. I pepper sprayed a violation, Margaret's voice responded coldly. The fact that it was a baby is irrelevant. Rules exist for a reason. People need to follow them or face consequences. A baby can't follow rules. A baby can't understand HOA regulations. Then the parents should have. They broke the rules. They faced consequences. That's how order is maintained. The jury looked sick, disgusted, angry. In my closing argument, Jennifer had asked me to deliver it with Judge Williams' permission since I was the victim. I spoke directly to them. Margaret Sullivan didn't see a baby on that sidewalk. She saw a violation. She didn't hear a newborn's cry. She heard a disturbance. She didn't feel empathy or compassion or basic human decency. She felt righteous indignation that someone dared to break her rules. I pulled up the photo of Lily in the hospital one more time. This is what happens when power matters more than people. When rules matter more than humanity. When a woman values her HOA authority more than a baby's life. I looked at Margaret, who stared back with cold indifference. Lily Rhodes will carry the scars of this attack for the rest of her life. Vision problems. PTSD. Fear responses. All because Margaret Sullivan decided that 3 weeks of human life was worth less than a perfectly clear sidewalk. I turned to the jury. The defense wants you to believe this was about order, about safety, about enforcing rules. But you've seen the evidence. Margaret Sullivan deliberately pepper sprayed a helpless infant. She showed no remorse. She called it necessary. She said she'd do it again. My voice hardened. Show her she was wrong. Show her that babies matter more than sidewalks. Show her that no amount of HOA authority can justify attacking a newborn. Find Margaret Sullivan guilty of every charge. Give Lily justice. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Margaret's face went white. For the first time I saw fear in her eyes. She'd finally realized that her power had limits. That she'd crossed a line she couldn't uncross. The sentencing hearing was 3 weeks later. Lily was 4 months old now, growing stronger every day but still showing signs of trauma. Emma had written a victim impact statement. She stood at the podium, Lily in her arms. We'd gotten permission to bring her. This is Lily, Emma said, her voice strong despite her tears. She's 4 months old now. She's beautiful and strong and loved. But she's also traumatized. She screams when strangers approach. She panics at loud noises. She has nightmares that wake her up crying. Emma looked at Margaret. You did this to her. You looked at my newborn baby and decided she deserved to suffer. You pepper sprayed her in the face and walked away laughing. Lily will need glasses because of you. Possibly surgery when she's older. Therapy for years to help her process trauma she's too young to even understand. And she'll grow up knowing that someone hurt her for no reason other than cruelty and power. Emma's voice broke. I hope you never know peace. I hope every day in prison, you remember the sound of my baby's screams. I hope it haunts you the way it haunts me. Judge Williams looked at Margaret with undisguised contempt. Mrs. Sullivan, I've been a judge for 20 years. I've seen terrible things. But I have never seen someone pepper spray a 3-week-old infant and show absolutely no remorse. Richard Morrison tried one last time. Your Honor, My client has mental health issues, a history of. Your client has a history of abusing children. Judge Williams cut him off. She was forced to resign as a principal for it. She continued the abuse as HOA president. And when a family dared to momentarily occupy a sidewalk with their newborn, she attacked that baby with a chemical weapon. She turned to Margaret. You claim you were enforcing rules. But there is no rule, no law, no authority that gives anyone the right to pepper spray an infant. You didn't maintain order. You committed assault on a helpless baby. Judge Williams' voice was steel. Margaret Sullivan, I hereby sentence you to 20 years in state prison for aggravated assault on a minor. Additionally, you will serve consecutive sentences of 15 years for child endangerment and 10 years for assault with a chemical weapon. Total sentence, 45 years. You will be eligible for parole in 30 years. The courtroom erupted in applause. Margaret stood there, shocked, finally understanding that her actions had consequences. I was just enforcing rules, she whispered, but no one was listening anymore. She was led away in handcuffs, and I felt the first real sense of justice since that horrible morning on the sidewalk. Lily's second birthday party was everything a party should be: balloons, cake, laughter, joy. Our daughter ran around the backyard, chasing bubbles, giggling with pure happiness. She still wore glasses, probably always would. She still had moments of anxiety. But she was thriving. Emma watched from the porch, her hand on her very pregnant belly. We were expecting again, a boy this time. Lily was going to be a big sister. You okay? I asked, wrapping my arm around Emma. Yeah. Just thinking about how far we've come. 2 years ago I thought I'd lost her. Thought she'd be traumatized forever. She's strong. Like her mother. Like both her parents, Emma corrected, kissing my cheek. We watched Lily laugh as she caught a bubble, her joy pure and unfiltered. Margaret Sullivan was in prison. The HOA had been completely restructured. Maple Ridge Estates had new leadership that valued people over rules. And our family had healed. Not completely, some scars remained forever. But we'd survived. We'd fought back. We'd won. Happy birthday, baby girl, I called to Lily. She turned, her glasses catching the sunlight, and smiled the biggest smile. Dada. Mama. Look. She was holding a butterfly that had landed on her hand. Emma started crying, happy tears this time. She's not afraid anymore. And she was right. Lily held that butterfly with wonder, not fear. She'd overcome the trauma. She'd learned to trust again. Margaret Sullivan had tried to break our daughter. Had attacked her for the crime of existing. Had nearly killed her over a sidewalk. But Lily was stronger than that. Our family was stronger than that. And justice, real, complete justice, had been served. As Lily released the butterfly and watched it fly away, I knew that this, her healing, her joy, her fearless wonder at the world, was the real victory. Margaret Sullivan was in prison where she belonged. And our daughter was free. If you enjoy the story, comment below for second part. Also subscribe for more stories.